Africa, Asia, everywhere. But most importantly, we're going to focus on Africa, generally East Africa, sorry, particularly East Africa. The questions that are rising from the dates, taxes, and how the political arena of the country, for example, Uganda, is shaping the future of the people of that country. A lot has been going on, and we've listened to debates from different political organizations, from National Unity Platform to NRM, from NRM to FDC. Question is, are these debates for the people of the country, for the people of East Africa, or just a wastage of time? Let's get after this, looking at the pipeline, the taxes in Kenya, some story in Uganda, people losing money every now and then. So I'm joined by a team of great political analysts that are going to shape and look into what is happening in the country. Guys, I want to thank you so much. First of all, I am glad that it's been a long time since all of you, since we last met. Questions have been, well, David, we need to hear from you. And then I was like, okay, so you guys, we have worked together before, and I appreciate your knowledge, your understanding of these key political and economic things that are going on in the country. I want to start with you, Apollo, and it's very interesting. Do you see anything different in the country today or in East Africa in general?
First and foremost, I just want to say I want to say hi to our viewers and to thank you for watching us all the time, and I want to thank even for my panelists and my long-time friend. Yeah. It's been a long time, yeah. So what I'm seeing in East Africa as a general is that maybe when you hear what is happening in different countries, maybe East Africa as a whole, sometimes they say they want to make East African great in integration in some stuff or one another in different things. But I was looking at several issues that I think we have not yet reached the time of being together as countries, different countries. So it is very hard sometimes to
think about it.
It is very hard sometimes to put something into a place that will help our people, or our people that will benefit in when we are not united as East Africa.
Thank you. That's a good comment. I'll jump, Richard, and go straight to Daniel. Daniel, anything interesting? You are a very great public policy consultant. You've seen all the things happening in the country. Do you see anything going on in East Africa that you may be like, oh, wow, East Africa is moving forward. We're on the right track. Just starting with that.
Yeah, there's a lot. I don't think we are moving forward. There's a lot of chaos. The issue with Congo and Uganda in the ICJ, it's a mess. And I think Congo and Uganda and Kenya and Rwanda are having a bitter relationship. And these are the key countries that are behind the whole idea of the East African integration. Actually, the oil pipeline deal that was struck between Tanzania and Uganda, this pipeline was first planned to be channeled through Kenya. But because of the different political misunderstandings, Kenya is now a democratic country that is fully founded and has a lot of investment from the West and all that. So, and Uganda is the opposite of it.
Right.
So there's a lot of key policy issues that we are different, and there's a lot of political chaos.
Thank you.
So that's all I see.
It's interesting because everyone is asking the same question. What are we going to be doing? Where are we heading to? Richard, I'd like to come up with this. You have been following the oil pipeline deal, which I know we are going to dig deep into it. But also you were a part of NUP. So we have the literary that took place in a couple of, past couple of days. A lot is happening that has been happening over time. So let me ask you this. Any progress? I want you to focus on Uganda. Any progress based on the deals that you've seen going on so far and pretty much any territory that took place?
Yeah, NUP is now consolidated on the ground. They found our leader. His car is being punished. I think Museveni doesn't have enough money. Then, what are we going to do should we just sit down and be in the game of politics when our country is decaying? Or should we liberate our country? Should we fight for our country, create jobs, equal opportunity, develop the country, take it out of people that are foreigners like the Indians and Chinese?
Right.
Or should we just keep quiet? That's what I'm looking at in Uganda.
I'm so glad. The question that has been going on over time, many people have been looking at, is Uganda was celebrating so much of the oil deal that was struck between Tanzania and Uganda. President Museveni did a very great job to represent, as the first man of the country and the first person of the country, he did a great job to represent Uganda, to sign a deal between him on behalf of Uganda and President Hassan Suluhu on behalf of Tanzania. Now, the question that many Ugandans are asking today, will this deal be impactful? Will it be important for the future of the country? That is where we're going to start from in this discussion. Billions of money are going to be spent on this oil deal. The question that many of Ugandans and East African people are asking is this money and the deal for these two countries, or just for any companies, Total and the other one, that are taking control of it? Let's get after it. Gentlemen, one of the key things that we see in this deal is how much money that's going to be spent and people who are going to be employed. Richard, I want to start with you. You said about employment opportunities. There is a deal that these two countries saw that, well, we're going to get a lot of money out of it. First of all, from the oil itself. Secondly, employment opportunities. Why are you, especially people in your position, disagreeing with the agenda?
Okay, now you're telling us that we disagree. Yes, let's be frank about this oil thing. First of all, you are telling that there are jobs that are going to be created with the construction of the pipeline. So if there's a deal, the jobs that are going to be in Uganda or in Tanzania for the construction of the infrastructure to get the pipeline moving, that's good. But the long-term opportunities for Ugandans and investment, because we are in the fight of taking leadership, because Museveni said clearly that he discovered his oil and is not going to let the Western people take his oil. If we had time, I would give you the background of the oil, how Museveni came to say that he owns the oil by himself. Because if you look at the background of oil, 1918, 1919, that's when oil was discovered in Uganda. But over the years, the governments, because the Ugandan people were not knowledgeable, they were taken as people that don't know anything about this development of oils and the development of these things. We are backward. So the British, after independence, handed over the power to us. What they did, the Milton Obotes, what they used to do, because I've been in Uganda for a long time, they would call the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources and something, would call Total.
So you mentioned those two. You mentioned Total, and it's one of the key companies that are running this pipeline. It's a very great deal, creating employment opportunities. Why is it bad when you are crying against the government?
No. Let me finish this introduction. It's a very good introduction. Then, over the years, even Idi Amin, they would call Shell, come, we have oil here and here. Then these people would come with their white coats, Land Rovers, and go and then with their cans and pick up oil samples all over the country. Even Agip, and then would ship the containers, the cans, to their countries, into their laboratories, because we are fools.
Right. So
what Museveni did, that's why Museveni was a good leader in the beginning, even as a freedom fighter. In the beginning, he said, no, the problem of us is the knowledge of how these things are done. So as soon as Museveni took power, he went to Makerere University.
All right.
Wait, when he went to Makerere University, he got students and took them overseas, 5 students, to go and learn about the oil exploration, refinery and everything. When they came back, he gave them money so that we could get out to see what we have as Ugandans with educated people. Then that's how he calls it his own oil. When the oil came out, the first people that came running were the very people that were saying that Uganda, the oil it has, that the Uganda, the oil that it has no value. Now they came to Total, they say now we want to be part of this project.
Well, yeah, because there are two companies in this deal. We have Total running the deal. Then there is another Chinese company also running the deal. So it's a combination of two different areas that are now coming together, plus the two governments of Uganda and East Africa, to come up with a consensus that, hey, you know what? We need to create jobs. We need to provide.
No.
This is a deal for the country.
No. You're mixing three things at a go. David, let me tell you. That's how Museveni comes and says, it is my oil. So the first thing is the oil from Museveni. Yes, that's as by now, it is his. Because if you see the Uganda National Oil Company, its shares were sold to a holding company of which Muhoozi and the children of Museveni own 95%.
Richard, I'm going to bring you back.
Yeah, yes.
I'm going to bring you back. Let me ask you.
That was part one, but I'll come back on part two because these people need to understand this.
I'm going to ask my producer to bring me the map of where this oil pipeline is going to pass. As I go to Daniel. Yeah. Daniel, this is a deal that involves $3.55 billion. A great deal. Yeah. The president of Tanzania says over 10,000 people are going to be employed. Among those, we see restaurant owners, apartment owners, even the engineers who work in these on the entire pipeline. Let me have the map, and people would like to see maybe what you're exactly talking about here. Millions and millions of money that people are going to be receiving over time. Why is it, from the public policy point of view, why is it a big issue that Ugandans shouldn't take in, yet it's going to be helpful for them in the near future?
Well, for an ordinary Ugandan, it's a 50-50 deal. But because the kind of government we are dealing with is not an ordinary government.
Now, let me cut you short a little bit. Look at that map. From Hoima, Bukoba, Singida, Tanga in Tanzania, everywhere people are going to be employed, maintenance and everything. It's become a big deal, and everyone is looking at that. It's a great deal for the two countries. Where is the argument coming from you guys, especially the elites who are educated, saying, well, this is not a deal for a country?
Well, I'm not arguing, but my problem are two things. The people of Uganda cannot trust the people in charge of this deal. We are dealing with a government that is almost does not run on policies. It's run on a chain of command. This is what I want. This is what should be done. So when you are under that kind of a structure of leadership, I mean, you cannot be certain that these jobs are going to be there for you as an ordinary Ugandan. But for the future of Uganda, I also think this is a wrong direction to take. Because the whole world is taking a completely different direction. They are turning away from fossil fuels to renewable energy. We just had President Biden recently held a global climate change summit where all main global leaders are turning their eyes away from extracting fuel from the ground to renewable energy, electricity, solar power, and all that. All this money that is going to be invested in, trust me, 20 years from now or 10 years, the minimum, it's going to be useless. It's going to be useless. So as a country, we needed to look beyond. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but we needed to look beyond as a country, Uganda. But then on the other hand, it's going to strengthen the relationship and at the same time damage other relationships, because the area where this oil is the Albertine area, this oil cuts across through Congo.
Right.
And Uganda has to have a good working relationship between Congo to be able to maximally exhaust this oil. So there's also policy differences between Uganda and Congo on that. And then on the other hand, Kenya lost a lot of money because they had invested a lot they thought they were going to get this deal from Uganda.
Are you suggesting that we have had in East Africa a number of things that have happened before the Standard Renegade that was going to be constructed.
Yeah.
Kenya did their part, Tanzania did their part, Uganda didn't do their
Uganda
part.
didn't do their part. And I'll tell you a story about that.
So are you trying to drive to that at the end of the day it's not going to be helpful?
I'm not saying it's not going to be fruitful, but I'm trying to cut across. Like, as a country, the infrastructure is going to be there, because we cannot say we have oil and we don't have the infrastructure to get it out of the ground and to export it and to sell it to get money. But on the other hand, the kind of government that is in charge of this deal is not a trustworthy government. And that's my point. Like, these are people who are, first of all, what they say on TV is not what goes on in the background. You don't know, like, there are a lot of companies, like, let me give an example, like Uganda Airlines. Nobody knows who owns this. Nobody knows who has shares in this. So when you have a government that does things like that, I mean, as a ordinary Uganda, you should not even be excited. You should just go on with your usual life, because if actually President Museveni initially wanted himself to have his own oil refinery in Uganda, and trust me, that was a mission impossible, because even the richest man in Africa tried it and it didn't work, because there are people who are in charge of the global oil, OPEC. And you cannot come as President Museveni and say, I want to have my own refinery.
Yeah, but
no, the oil refinery is going to the oil refinery is going to be there.
Let me finalize this, David. The whole idea is our government is so personalized to a point that when such a deal is struck, as an ordinary Ugandan, you're not sure if you have stake in there. But there are people who think they own the country and they own everything that goes on in the country. They think they own everything. So for an ordinary Ugandan, you should not be excited. You should only be excited that you have the infrastructure there.
All right. But then I thank you guys. Apple, you had an idea of how these countries operate, and you've, for some reason, for some time, you supported the ruling government. I'm not sure whether you still do, but what I do know is that this deal was done, and what we do know also, $3.55 billion are going to be spent on this deal. However, the latest information we have, the government of Uganda under Total, the French banks are saying we are not going to lend Total the money to build the pipeline deal, to make it happen. So do you see any possibility in this pipeline deal, or we are going to go back into the history of, yes, we signed a deal, but we don't have the money, now we have to borrow from IMF and World Bank to finance the deal, because international banks that would be supporters of this game are saying this ain't ours?
I think all is good when you hear that, like that opportunity, and we got, like, we have oil in the country. I think it's good. But the thing is, I can agree with my friend, Daniel.
Yep.
Is that the people who are in charge of this are no longer trustable. We've seen a lot of money disappearing without not even auditing, without not even giving us exactly where the money disappeared from, and this is the country whereby they can wake up in the morning and give someone money and say, this is money for the teachers, and the teachers didn't get the money, and the person who was given the money is still moving very well, and the teachers are complaining. Even they come and say, we are not going to teach again. So a lot of things have been happening. When you lose the trust, that's what Daniel said. I cannot be excited of that. Of course, it's a good deal. It's a good thing. But who are those people who are in charge? You get what I'm saying? That means we are going to wake up in the morning and we see even no change.
It's very clear. It's very clear. There is government of Uganda. There is government of Tanzania. And by the way, Tanzania has just had a very historical moment.
Yeah, but do you know that even the late president
Pombe
Magufuli has refused to sign that, because the government of Uganda, as Daniel said, the government is incompetent. Yeah. He has refused, by the way. There are a lot of deals Magufuli refused to sign. Even there was a day they invited him to Uganda. Another time he refused to come.
But this is a project that African people,
You know,
they're not going to benefit out of it. You know, I want you guys
David,
to give advice on going, and then we
David,
get out of it.
David, let's discuss, because this is a very important
Right.
on even the NUP side. The infrastructure and the jobs created in the infrastructure project of the oil deal are going to be there and are needed, even the refinery. Tanzania is going to be getting every barrel that passes through its territory is going to get a commission based upon the market value. I don't know how much they agreed upon because everything is in secrecy. That is no problem. Now, wait. The only problem that we are concerned as NUP, as Ugandans, even you as citizens of the country, is who owns the oil. And between the government of Uganda, which is currently in place, and the NUP that is going to come after it. What is the difference? The difference is that under Museveni, the Uganda National Oil Company sold its shares to a holding company belonging to his son and daughters. That means it is his. And the accounts are overseas. No one knows the owners of the holding company, of the revenues that are going to come out of the oil. Under NUP, we are going to get this money back to the hands of the Ugandans, and the money is going to be taken into the treasury of the country and the Bank of Uganda. From there, we are going to distribute it to build the infrastructure of the country. The revenues that are coming out, because there are two things that you are mixing. There are the revenues, and there are jobs that are going to be created for running the infrastructure. But now let me give you an example of Chad. Because you look at the difference between Chad and Uganda, they are almost similar. Under the president of Chad, the same $4 billion was used to construct the pipeline so that the country can start producing oil, exporting oil for sales. And one of the deals, I was surprised, 74 billion in taxes was got out of this, in taxes alone. Now, let's look at the details. Under the president of Chad, who was Museveni's friend, the money that was got out was paid to the security and the army to make sure that their party and army stays and security keeps them in power. That's exactly what Museveni is doing. The Ugandan people under the President Museveni's rule and his son are not going to benefit even anything out of the oil deal.
All right.
But under the NUP, we shall get back the oil to its position, to the revenue and the treasuries of the country, so that it benefits every person building hospitals, roads, infrastructure, everything that is needed. That's the difference.
All right, Richard, I want to thank you, and you know, you have mentioned the real issue of you've mentioned the real issue of NUP, how you plan on ensuring that there is transparency, accountability. There is going to be a new change in how all these resources are distributed amongst Ugandans. Well, that's a fact, and it's a good idea that you guys have in your political party and your agenda. But you had a retreat recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I want us to dig deep into it.
Mm-hmm.
You went weeks before you went to that retreat. You said, according to the top membership of your organization, that we're going to sit down and think about who the best person that is standing for the speakership office that we are going to support. And you mentioned clearly that, well, we are going to talk about this issue. Days after the retreat, you said we've only come up with committees to think about it. So let me ask a question. What do you think the committees that you came up with are going to solve the problem that an entire organization that spent 2 days failed to come up with?
Yeah,
in your view.
Yeah, you know, Honorable Chagwa, or the president-elect of the country, is a democratic man. He does everything without favor or doing anything. That's why everyone came on board. So he didn't want to do it the way Museveni does it. Like, for example, look at Jacob Olanya and Kadag. Jacob Olanya was even refused to speak in Kyankwanza because he's contesting for the leadership of the parliamentary speakership in the country. Because it's Museveni who is supposed to elect or nominate who is supposed to be the speaker or to contest for any position. that if things is favorable to him or rewarding him for what he did for changing the constitution, Rebecca Kadaga. Now, under Honorable Chagwan or Bobby Wine, things are not done like that. Things are done in an equal way and in equal opportunity. That everything is done without anyone comparing. Because if a committee come up with a recommendation that we think this and such a person is a suitable person, that would be a very good way. And if I was the one, I would do it the same.
All right. So, then I want to bring you in on that very issue of committees. Wasn't it right for first make the committees before the retreat? So by the time you come to the retreat, everybody knows that, well, this is what we came up with, and then they vote for that. Because is there any chance for pretty much, do you see any chance of NUP coming up with another day to say, all members come up, the committees came up with these names, or we are going to either support Oulanyah or Jacob Oulanyah, Deputy Speaker, Rebecca Kadaga, the current Speaker, or Ssemujju Nganda, who is also standing for the same seat. And the committees are like, well, this is what we did. Now it is time for you, the members of the party, to vote on where we should stand. So do you see any possibility of another sitting?
Yeah, but that was a smart move, and I applaud the leadership of NUP for making that move. Everybody was anticipating that decision immediately when their retreat is done. But coming up and say, oh, we have not made a decision, we just want to put a committee to investigate further on this issue. And the reason behind is, these events are still unfolding. So,
but there's just a couple of weeks to go.
Yeah.
Very soon next month, we are going to be seeing President Museveni swearing in as a president of the country.
Yeah, David, but in politics, you don't just jump and make a decision. There is what we call game theory. So game theory is a theory in politics where you let your competitor make a decision first, and then you counter that decision because you are in a much better position to make a more better decision than you. I hope you get it. So I think the leadership of NUP made a very smart strategic move with this decision. Of course, they still have a lot of things to legitimize, like the claimed victory in the presidential election. So when you still have such things pending, you don't jump in and say, oh, we have made a decision, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You might make a decision and things turn up different tomorrow, and then boom, you're done. And I think these guys are proving themselves to be really good political strategists. And I really think people who still dismiss Bobby Wine as just a muyaye or someone who is an opportunity, this guy knows what he's doing. And the idea of a retreat, I've never had DP do a retreat. I've never had FDC do it. I've had this with NRM, and this has solidified the party, and it has made NRM build a very strong ideology. Though the ideology is undermining their legitimacy among the people of Uganda, but somehow it works for them because they go there. The ideology is the only person who decides for the party is the president. As a member, you don't have to use your brain and think and say what the people want. You have to say what the president wants. But I hope for Kyagulanyi, he would build a better ideology, putting these people together. Of course, they also have a lot of challenges like infiltration, because of a lot of people from NUP are compromised. But when they have such things done in the party like retreats, it solidifies the membership.
But wasn't it the right time for them to say, well, there is no need for debate on that issue, according to at least many people's views, and there is no need because you have someone from the opposition, for this case, Honorable Ssemujju Nganda, who could. It's just automatic that he's from opposition, and he's part of the idea that we need, that many Ugandans need a new country, new government.
But
why did it take so long for somebody from your camp, from the NUP camp, to say, well, you know what? Regardless of the numbers, we don't have the numbers, we know that. Let's support this because this is the cause. We want to take out NRM. And now you don't have any chances so far because NRM has one, the largest numbers, two, they have two candidates fighting for the same seat.
But David, let's not think that Ugandan politics is the normal politics. It is not the normal politics. Ugandan politics is very unpredictable. You don't know what Ssemujju Nganda's agenda is for standing for speakership. You have no idea.
Isn't that the reason why now
Yeah,
you have to cut
we,
the deal
we
with him?
cannot just say he's an opposition member. Boom, let's make a decision. That one decision, your competitor NRM can use it to flip you up.
So you were saying Semi Jungan is part of the NRM.
No, I'm not
team?
saying that. I'm saying Ugandan politics is unpredictable.
Alright, that is
You
it.
don't just wake up one day and make a decision
Alright.
because you don't know that guy's agenda. You don't know FDC's agenda. Of course, NUP and FDC have had differences, clear differences, and that's why they didn't come up with a single presidential candidate. So some of these things are very calculative, and sometimes public opinion cannot see the nitty-gritty of this political decision. But for me, I've had a chance. I've studied political science. I know what these guys are doing, and I think it is the best strategic move for them.
Apple, what sense do you get out of this? They spend time, 2 days discussing. Of course, they discuss a number of issues. One of them was to go back and thank their voters, and that is one of the key things that any politician, strategic politician, will do. But here comes a time where you need a member of parliament, you need a speaker, and you need somebody who is going to support your ideas. You have not presented anyone. And I like the comment that was made recently on one of the programs in Uganda. Honorable Nambaza said, you cannot beat your child for eating outside if you've not prepared food at home. Do you think NUP now, because of that comment, gives them the leverage to support pretty much maybe Honorable Jacob Olanya or Speaker Rebecca Kadag?
I think there is a big confusion in people in opposition. First and foremost, if they are still fighting for, they're all political. They are political. They have political greedy. So when you look at, I think it comes from a leader. When a leader lacks democratic implementations, that's what you expect that to happen.
So you were saying that who doesn't have who doesn't have? You're talking about Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, you're talking about President Museveni. Who?
Both. Because
so you're saying Honorable Chagulanyi is a dictator?
Democracy means my opinions, my choice, my decision. That's democracy. So when you take me as your tool that you have to use me or to tell me what to do, that means you take away my rights of democratic rights. You get what I'm saying? So it doesn't mean that when you are a president of the party, you have to call people and feed them like your dogs. They don't have to think for themselves. They don't have. That's why you see when in those political parties, when some people comes out and say, no, this is my stand, they say, oh, oyo bamuguze, oyo bakoze bwe bati, because goyimirira ku rights so no gamba nonze bwenti bwendi abantu be banonda. By the way, it happened. There was a time when Besigye, I think last election, not this election, the last ones, Besigye commanded his members of parliament. By that time he was FDC president, and told them not to go into the parliament to boycott. And one of the guys said, no, it is not Besigye who sent us to the parliament. It is the people who sent us to the parliament. So chiba kyabulyaza amaanyi abantu nga bebatutumye okugenda mu parliament omuntu n'atuyimiriramu n'atuga nti temukola ki.
All right, so I want to ask you this, Apple, before you actually get out of that discussion. You were kind of saying that the Ugandan people don't see the political future of their country by saying, well, we don't need Honorable Chagulanyi to decide for our party as a president, but they entrusted him with their power. They said, he is our president, so he can make decisions on behalf of them, and those decisions are supposed to be final. So why does that make any difference in what your suggestions are?
I think he doesn't have to make a decision for anybody, even if he's a president.
He's the party president. He has a committee.
Yes, but democratically, he doesn't make a decision for anybody. That's why we have voting sessions. That's what Daniel talked about. That when any NRM party, even if they are advocating for somebody, and you know, NRM is advocating for Museveni, and this is what you see even these NUP people are doing. They're advocating for Bobi Wine. So it is very dangerous to lose your power and your energy and your sense as someone who is educated to start be fed by somebody who tomorrow cannot be there and you are there. You get what I'm saying? Because now Besigye is no longer a president for FDC, but there are members of parliament who stayed in the parliament. Now, who is telling them what to do? Who are telling those members of FDC what to do? They remain there. He's no longer their boss. He's no longer anything. You get what I'm saying? So what if Kyagulanyi is no longer a president, and these members of parliament of his are still there? So who are they gonna listen to?
All right.
So we have. I finalize with this. We have to stand on our democratic rights, because when you go to people to push you into parliament, they push you as you to hear, to send your opinions, to send your ideology over there. You get what I'm saying?
So yeah, that's interesting. So Richard, that's where I want to bring you in. Do you think, according to you, this retreat that took place in Jinja brought in the fruits that the NUP supporters, and of course many Ugandans who have been in love with the organization right away from People Power up to today, NUP, do you think they really got the fruits they wanted out of this retreat? Based on evidence that, one, they did not come up with the person they were going to support for speakership. Two, they're still thinking about, they come up with the committees, so they don't have a resolution on that. And, well, they had a resolution that they're going to come up with the committees and doing that. But do you think this is what Ugandans wanted?
No, you are telling me, do you think that this is what Ugandans want, even including me? So now do you think we, the people of Uganda, are going to be looking at Museveni in his games of politics, that now we are the leading opposition party in the country without liberating the country?
Because that's where the SOS going.
No.
First of all,
NUP,
Richard,
wait. NUP is a registered political party on the ground. It will be there even as when we are gone, even when Kyagulanyi is gone. It is going to be there as long as it's there. Now, the issue of the liberation of the country and the issue of leadership now and the parliamentary seats are there. If we go and make a retreat and say we are coming to a retreat to go through the procedure of the game so that we can get a point where we stand and then move forward. Because what we have to look at Uganda currently is what will happen in the next 1 year from now. Is Museveni going to hold the power? Is he going to give it to his son? Is he going to stay alive? Is NUP just going to be there on the sideline looking at them like this with all what they are doing and killing of our people? Are the people of Uganda going to agree on the status quo in the country, that Museveni is going to be coming in, steal an election, go to his judges, and they satisfy him and the electoral commission, and then he say, now I've won, a Kisanja, these games. It's going to be a liberation. Is there going to be a liberation movement in Uganda? Because if there's going to be a liberation movement in Uganda, then there's going to be a new election in Uganda. Then we shall win that election again, and we shall take leadership of the country.
All right, good, great, and that's very interesting.
Yes.
And when you mentioned
yes, this is not a game.
When you mentioned that, the retreat that took place, Honorable Kyagulanyi made a very strong statement, urging his colleagues, don't take the money from Mr. Museveni. Previously, it was a reverse. Take the money, eat it, do what you have to do right. Right now, don't take the money from Mr. Museveni. Now let me ask you a question. How possible do you see this happening? We have seen in the past, at least history will teach us that most of the opposition politicians have been fed by President Museveni's group. And for some reason, those who are so talkative, those who are so active, are no longer doing the job. Mm-hmm. Where do you see NUP? Just give me just one point, and then I'll go to Daniel.
The way we see things the way I see things as a political analyst is totally different of what people are doing on the ground. People are saying now, I got my parliamentary seat, I might be given a job as a minister,
correct,
and make some money. That is being short-sighted. For us, we are looking at the bigger picture of liberating a country and then get more money through investment, your own corporation, your own investment, a good salary, when there's peace and stability in the country. There are two things that you look at, or two types of people that you look at in the country. Those are so many. short-sighted. Nange nyingidde kati ngenda kulya. We are different. We are a liberating party of the country. If you look at what happened in Chad, is a very good example that the power was transferred to his son in a coup. How do you think it's going to happen when Museveni is no longer the president of the country? It's going to be the same. Will the parliament be there?
I think that's not a problem. Where the power goes, because because that's where you go wrong. When in Chad, there's things you don't talk about. In Chad, they say that guy is gonna be take over for how long?
For a short period of
for a
time.
short period, and then
No, it was a coup d'etat.
Yes,
It was a coup d'etat.
hold on. Yes, I know. They. But in Uganda, what he's talking about, I don't know why you bring some undemocratic things in
No.
issues.
So-
Because
so-
Muhoozi is a Ugandan, right?
Right.
Muhoozi is a Ugandan.
But
he has all the capacity to become the president of Uganda.
Muhoozi
If he
is not a
passes in the
Ugandan
channel, if he
descent
passes in
by
the-
birth.
That's you.
No. Look, I've been.
Alright.
I'm 57
That
years
is
old.
NUP propaganda.
Look.
I mean,
I saw this young man. I saw this young man when he came back from exile.
Disqualify Muhoozi to become
no,
the president as long as he passes through the right channel of
Which-
democratic manner.
Alright, guys. So-
Which right channels?
all right, guys. So I'm gonna take you out. I'm gonna take you off from that debate and just look at
That is wrong. That is wrong.
No. We are not going to go into Museveni's
Don't
games like
bring
a child.
bias and frustration.
No.
Guys, all right. I want to thank you guys for such a debate. I want to thank you so much
I
for
can't believe
that. But let's look at the other things. These are very political arguments that we've had so far. But let's look at one of the key things that are happening today are the taxes that the government is introducing on a daily basis. People have been in the pandemic. Many millions have lost jobs. Others cannot even support their kids to go back to school. Schools have just been opened, but schools are now sending back kids home because their parents couldn't pay their fees. On top of that, businesses are collapsing on a daily basis. I had a conversation with one of my friends who owns a hardware shop down in Shauriak, and he said, we don't have any business at all. All the money is being taken away. People are not allowed to come to town and a number of things. So let's look at the tax things that are coming up. Daniel, you're a very great public policy consultant. The government looks at taxing Ugandan people as the only avenue to making more money for it to finance the economic activities of the country. People are saying we don't have jobs. We are from the pandemic. Instead of you, the government, giving us money to finance our projects, you are saying we don't care. What we need is money to construct new roads and other infrastructure projects. What is your view on that? Billions and billions of money out of Ugandan pockets.
I don't think that money is to construct anything. That money, let me give you a story. Uganda is one of the biggest, one of the countries, African countries, that did borrow a lot of money from China. And from secure sources and information I got, the government gave up part of the lake, I think Lake Victoria, for the Chinese as a ransom for them to get those debts. And right now, China and Africa relationship actually is going sour. Let me give you a trajectory of how this works. In the beginning, China was a country that gave loans with no strings attached. No accountability, no human rights, democracy stuff like the World Bank or IMF does. So every African president, when they had that, they ran where? To China, including Museveni. And now they borrowed a lot of money because it didn't have any accountability. So time to pay came, and none of these countries, actually majority of them, are not able to pay. And one of the worst consequences, and in Uganda, the taxing issue, it's still the beginning. It's getting worse. In Zambia, we're one of the other countries that took a lot of debts from China. They are even taxing water that comes in your house in a tap. You have to pay tax for that. That's how bad it's going to get for all these countries that took loans from China. Otherwise, the Chinese don't play around. They are going to take these things that you gave them. So for Ugandans, for these poor Ugandans, for them, They don't know these things. The road, the Northern Bypass Road that was constructed in Uganda is one of the most expensive road in the whole world. It was constructed by Chinese on a loan. The pipeline, part of the money that is going to construct that pipeline is a loan from China. So Ugandans we were telling Ugandans these things before they went to vote. Vote for your future. Vote for your children. Imagine, David, every Ugandan, and I want to tell every Ugandan who's just got married recently, the babies you're going to produce are going to be produced with a date on their head that they were not even there when this date was. So this is just the beginning. And that's the only thing government can do to pay back this money. Tax the people.
But you know, again, it's very interesting to area of discussion. In Kenya, part of another country, part of East Africa, people are complaining about taxes. At the same time, they're complaining about we don't need more funds from international organizations like IMF. We don't need more money. We don't need more money. Now the question is, you complain that the kids are going to pay for these dates.
Yeah.
Great. But how are the people going to survive?
David, the issue is
the IMF is there to give you money. World Bank is there to give you
IMF money is accounted for. If you take money from IMF and you want to build a hospital, they have to see it there. But Chinese money, they don't care whether the money was stolen or the money was misused. They don't care.
Right.
But they want their money back. But IMF, you don't do that. World Bank, you don't do that.
All right. Thank you. Richard, there is a problem here on the issue of taxes in Uganda and everywhere. Number one, Ugandans seem not to be concerned about these taxes. They don't talk about them. I want to give you an example. Majority of Ugandans, at least if you look at the social media point of view, they will focus on issues like cars, ships, ferries, dogs, cats. They won't look at the key issues like taxes. In Kenya, for example, and I like my producer will get me a picture of in Kenya how people are looking at these IMF dates and taxes that are going on. In Kenya, people are demonstrating against the IMF funds. Let's look at this is a comment from one of our journalists from Kenya. He said, Parliament has failed in its job to control borrowing and it has approved nearly every request to incur more debt. Now, this is a lot of money coming in East Africa from IMF, World Bank, China, North Korea. You will look at every other country is now financing Africa for their own selfish interests. The question is, why are you people in Uganda not so concerned about these dates, not concerned about loans, not concerned about anything of that? You're concerned on these minor issues. And East Africa is now standing up and saying, we are tired of these dates. We are tired of the taxes. Why?
Now, let's be mature and discuss this thing. The economy of Uganda today is based upon border and casual laborers. The country has failed. Let's be sincere. Why do they care if I can take someone on the border and get 20,000 a day or 50,000 a day and make and go and pay for Mozigo and eat a chiguro?
Actually, Christine Lagarde said that.
Okay.
Uganda is a border economy.
No. Let's begin. I used to work for Chinese company, Sietco. I was an engineer there. For many years, I worked in Chinese company. That's a long story. But let me tell you, I knew how they came to the country. And I am one of the people that brought them to get fish from Lake Victoria that exported Engege, the tilapia. So that's a long story. I knew how they came into the country. They brought a Kanyebwa, and then from there they built themselves into the economy of the country and the power of the country. Now, the issue is, how did it begin for Ugandan to be overtaxed, and why do they not benefit? Museveni has been doing it deliberately to make people poor by overtaxing them deliberately, overtaxes them to pay for his security now, to keep him in power before his projection of the oil and other things come in. Museveni has been deliberately not overtaxing the investors that he is bringing, gives them tax break. How can you, a person who cares for the people that you are governing very well, you bring in David from America, you bring him this man from China, you give him a tax break, and then this man who owns the country you overcharge him. That was number one. Unfair taxation. You know someone, the revenue authority, you know someone, the minister, he brings in a container, it's cleared. I used to work, it's a long story, I used to work for these Kaihuras in the revenue. I saw everything, how it was being done. In the evening, they come in, they give him the sheets, and he calls them on phone, I want those containers tomorrow morning. So all these now, you are going to the same market, in the same market. Now, after you bring in the goods in the country, you go to Chikubo, Chiembe, somewhere. This man is selling 3/4 of the price, and you are selling full price to make a little profit. But you are Ugandan. He's making money already. You are losing money. That's how people have ended up on Cheyo. So, overtaxing people is a deliberate move by Museveni. So now what the mess he has created in the country, what People Power is going to do is we are going to rebuild the country. We are going to rebuild the economy. We are going to pay off the debts. We are going to borrow money China has invested in Uganda.
Richard,
pay it off.
The reason I ask you this question is because I looked at what is happening in Kenya. Dates that's increased taxes, and people saw it. They looked at the rail station, the rail line that was constructed in 2017, and they said, well, it was done, but it's not adding value to our country. So we don't need more debts. We don't need more money from international organizations. And we don't want to be overtaxed. In Uganda, the concentration of the people from your top leadership of politicians down to the common man, you don't discuss these things. You only focus on, I was rigged, we were rigged, we were...
Can I interject?
Yeah, I want to bring you in.
Because there are countries, actually like Sierra Leone, they were going to get a very big debt from China to build a very fancy airport. But when the public opinion, when the public knew about it, public opinion rose up on social media, and the government was not able to get this loan from China, because the country didn't need a new airport. They needed schools, they needed hospitals, they needed roads, and this is the thing for Uganda. When you have a government like the one we have, where everything is governed not by policy but by a chain of command, President has said. You've heard that the ministers and the member of parliament say, President has said. There is no policy. So the poor people you're talking about, they will never know about these things. Because even the people they send to think for them or to plan for them, they have a chain of command they are following. Because they are not following you who voted them. And this goes to everyone who voted an NRM MP. You people are the one who... But
they never won an election. But they never won an election. No. There are few won an election.
Let me conclude with this. Museveni is a very lucky man, because a lot of Ugandans are ignorant. They don't know what their vote means.
No, we won an election and we took the parliament. That is the fact.
I want to ask you this question too. Do you think members of parliament, if you look at the quote from a Kenyan journalist, when he said members of parliament are letting people down, do you think Ugandan members of parliament are letting the people of Uganda down? These are the people they have voted for, they have supported financially. And for the first time on record, everybody's waiting to see what, especially people from NUP, what they are going to do, because they have been financed by the people. They've borrowed some money, but they mostly have been financed by the people. So do you think these MPs are going to create any change over time?
No.
Why?
Let me tell you something. If you want, you should have asked Namboze that question. I think she has been in a parliament. She's going in 30 years in the parliament. Even right now, she still wanted to continue. The question is, what has she done?
She has stood against President Museveni.
That's not what people want. People want a total change of things, not to stand against Museveni. We've seen that. We've seen a lot of candidates. We've seen a lot of energetic, vocal members of parliament. Right now, they are not there. Members of parliament in Uganda, however you bring, even if Nup made it to bring 200, they should have not done anything. Let them go and eat their money. That's it. They will not change any single thing, because when you are poor, what you go there to do is to make your life better. We don't have patriotic members of parliament in Uganda. We don't have nationalists. We have businessmen in the parliament.
Are you in agreement that you are, in other words, in agreement that members of parliament are useless?
True.
That are not fighting for the common person.
That's what Daniel said.
But you vote and campaign for them.
No.
They follow a chain of command.
Yes,
so
that's it.
You talk about
Yes, this is what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I talked about the other time. That the NUP and the NRM, they're advocating for somebody. Even if we put these people in the place of Museveni, the chain of command, it will gonna go through.
No.
Yes.
No.
Because now Chagulanyi is calling members of parliament at his place.
I just want to make a comment here. In Chankwanza, I quoted Mr. Museveni saying this very, very well, that you people, the members of parliament, the reason some of you lost, because what they did, they stole on behalf of the NRM to win the majority in parliament. You lost because your people are carrying jerry cans of water for so many years on their head. Now who is responsible for the reconstruction of the country, where a member of parliament does not have authority and power to do any development in an area? It doesn't have money, it doesn't have anything.
We're going to end with that.
Hold on.
Things are going to change.
I want to teach Muyombia something. Bobi Wine came to stand for a presidency when we don't know where he has his support. In politics, that happens. So, when he came, now I think I should have been excited, maybe like Bobi Wine, that now I know that in Uganda, that is my best. Even here in America, they tell you that Democrat in Massachusetts, you don't just pass there, if you're a Republican. Every politician must have a stronghold somewhere when he knows that this is my place.
Right.
Apart from this one saying we won everywhere, you didn't win. We won in Buganda. Just five members of parliament who came out of Buganda on a NUP ticket.
All right, guys. So I want us to go back before we finish up the show. I want us to go back to the issue of taxes. Now, members of parliament are soon swearing in. Do we see any difference? Do we see Uganda is going to get better results this time? Because now they're saying we are not going to tax car owners. We're now putting the taxes on oil. Now, for Ugandans who are watching us tonight, there are a couple of things that are happening. One, they're not going to tax cars, but all the money is going to go on the regular transportation through the oil or fuel. If that increases, and something's going to happen, every product you have is also going to increase in terms of prices. So the question is, do you really think, as a Ugandan, you who stays in Uganda, or even you who is in the diaspora, or any East African person, do you really think these governments are working for you? Or are your members of parliament working for you to better your lives? Because they are supposed to discuss. If you remember the quote from the Kenyan journalist, members of parliament are letting down their people. So, guys, your final say, Daniel, and then I'll be out of the show. Let's look at that. Look at that. He says parliament has failed in its job to control borrowing. This is one way of how the members of parliament you vote for are letting people down.
Actually,
debts are increasing. IMF is saying we're going to finance
parliament, the outgoing parliament just approved another loan from IMF last week, I think. But the issue is, an ordinary Ugandan, you should know that when you have a government, the military government, like the one of President Museveni, this government is not working for you. The good example is the Chinese, how do they call it? The Chinese Communist Party.
Right.
It is the party that decides for the entire nation, not you, the ordinary Ugandan.
Because that's communism.
That's communism. And it is the same structure that Museveni borrowed. the NRM party is the one that decides for you. But on top of that, the NRM MP, who's supposed to represent your ideas or the things that are going on in your constituency, is not going to come and represent that. He is going, or she is going to represent what President Museveni said. That's
So,
what we are saying.
finally, guys.
Uganda is run on a chain of command,
Finally, guys,
not institutions, not policies.
What can Ugandans? At least we have seen what Kenya is doing. They're now working so hard from online everywhere to stop their governments from.
Yeah, actually, Kenya just
Getting
refused the
more
loan
da-
from China
that's
to
what-
rehabilitate the what? The coastal line.
Coastal line,
Yeah.
yes. So, how can the rest of East Africa learn from what is happening in Kenya? They are saying we don't need money from IMF. IMF is saying you need this money because if you don't take this money, your economy is going to go down. Your economy is going to go in a crisis. IMF is suggesting you need to take this money. Kenyans are saying we don't need this money
Let me
because
tell
we
you,
have
David.
seen. What can Ugandans, Rwandese?
I think I should give you a book. It's
Tanzanians
called,
learn from it.
I should give you a book. It's called The Confession of an Economic Hitman. It explains how these institutions like IMF, World Bank, traps Africans by taking these loans to control their economic and political policies and decisions. So for them, it works for them, especially for the United States. That's how they've been able to keep themselves on top of the world. But for Africans, as long as you undermine institutions, you undermine rule of law, you're not going to have a firm ground to establish a functioning structure of leadership that plans for its people.
Right.
Because everything that goes on in Uganda is on President Museveni's shoulders. You understand? Even the RDC thinks in Museveni's perspective. Even the police commander on a district or even a local police post thinks in the perspective of Museveni, not as an institution like a police force that protects its people. So some of these small things.
What can the rest of Ugandans learn from what is going on in Kenya to stop Ugandan government from taking more dates from overtaxing them?
Ugandans have been told again and again. I just don't know what's wrong, but Bobby Wine and the entire NUP structure preached much more than even FDC ever did about the value of the vote. I remember Bobby Wine did all these things, and wherever he went, he was telling people, vote because you want a school, vote because you want a road, vote because you want an economy that includes you, not an economy of 20 that is driven on 20 people who holds everything. But I just don't know why Ugandans don't understand this. They're just patient, or they're just enduring. I just don't get it. It's something like David, we can't understand.
Richard,
Yeah, you know, Museveni is a clever man. He's a clever man. But let me tell you, he does things under the law. Because I've been following how he made his own constitution.
So he doesn't break the law. He doesn't.
No. Under the leadership of NUP, after it takes power by the leadership of Honorable Kyagulanyi, this is what is going to happen. There's going to be a conference for solving Uganda's problem. Then there's going to be a new constitution that divides power so that every institution goes back to function. We proposed, let me finish this. We proposed that there be two houses, like in America. The lower house and the upper house. Then you have a functioning parliament or a functioning Congress that is working for the people.
But you also know that that's not going to happen. Somebody has already introduced that, and that didn't work. Because it's not the reason why Uganda is suffering. It's not the reason why East Africa.
It is suffering because of the constitution. How Museveni gave himself all the powers in the country. All the power belongs to him.
By the elites. Apple, your final say.
I think the problem is. My friend talked about when Bobby Wine went and talked about vote this, vote this, vote this. That's why I was telling you that all members of parliament in Uganda, those who are in power and those who are on opposition, all are useless. They're money makers. When you find, let's look at Honorable Kyagulanyi himself when he was in Kyadondo, where he was even right now. Instead of showing him bringing a new boat, a new car of armored, did he left any ambulance in Kyadondo in his constituency?
You didn't see the motor graders there? Did you see, you never saw the motor graders and the roads being constructed in Kyadondo?
That motor grader was for LC5. It was not for
now you
Kyadondo.
see all this.
All right. So, guys, I want to thank you so much for this debate. I want to thank you for the analysis you've made, and I'm sure many Ugandans pick a lot of information from a show as big as this. The biggest problem that I have seen over time in the history of Uganda's politics is how Ugandans, or even majority of, generally East Africa, is how the people of East Africa concentrate, or is on how they concentrate on minor issues and leave out the bigger issues that actually affect their day-to-day life. Today, we've had a number of things going on in the public, from cars to ships to ferries, cats, dogs, and everything. But the actual thing that is affecting you as a Ugandan are the taxes. Failure to have better roads, failure to have better health facilities. You've seen almost all the big shots in Uganda, when they fall sick, they are taken to Kenya or India or United States. Why don't you wake up and demand for things that really affect you or the common man, instead of just making what somebody said noise? Guys, I want to thank you for joining me today. Apple, thank you for joining. Richard, Daniel, always good to have you. Thank you for watching AITV. Many shows are coming. And let's just begin the video. If this is your first time to watch AITV, you've been missing a lot of stuff. Tell a friend. Tell your mama in Uganda, tell your mom in Arabic countries, tell your mom in Asia that there is a network in the United States that caters for what we need. That is AITV. Have a good week. Thank you. Guys, thank you. It's been a very interesting day.